course, now the big question is, what will Apple do without Steve Jobs as CEO? With us this morning is the senior analyst at Telsey Advisory Group, Tom Forte. Tom covers the internet sector. Tom, welcome to In Business.
Hi, Margaret. Thanks for having me.
Jobs stays on as chairman of Apple. Are you confident that the pipeline is robust enough that Apple can continue to grow and to take market share?
Sure. So when you think about the product pipeline at Apple, the news over the near term is very good. Very soon we should have the next generation iPhone. The iPad is very early stage. So the question for Tim Cook and for Apple longer term will they be able to continue to figure out what's next, the next breakthrough device? And I think that'll be the challenge for Apple going forward.
Is the innovation itself. Yet, you know, we talked about this when we knew that Tim Cook was named interim CEO. Now he's officially been asked to be CEO by Steve himself. And there was the confidence that planning had been followed through with. How long of a product cycle do you think Apple has in front of it?
Okay, I would tell you today they likely have the next 2 or 3 years lined up. With, adding the next generation iPhone, perhaps on a once-a-year basis, continued evolutions with the iPad. The question is, though, what will be the next device?
Right.
There's some speculation it'll be an Apple TV, different from what they have today, a more integrated online experience. But who's going to determine what really even the consumer doesn't know they want today, but they're going to want in the future? And I think that was one of the brilliance of Steve Jobs.
And we do know that Apple is looking at Apple TV right now. People inside the company have shared that information. I mean, is that the next transformative product? And can that full execution happen with Tim Cook? I mean, Steve Jobs really was not only the face, but he went from the creation to the great unveil. He was the marketing.
I would tell you that on the Apple TV front, it likely has Steve Jobs' fingerprint on it. Given the timing of the potential release and the announcement of his departure as CEO. So I think in that regard, I don't know that we can credit Tim Cook. Like you said, perhaps he'll be involved heavily in marketing the device, and marketing was also one of Steve Jobs' strengths. But I think the question is even further down the line than that. A successful TV offering would get them in the living room, and I think that would be very, very important to Apple. A lot of companies have tried that, and no one's really succeeded so far.
Do you think in some ways that the strength of having Jobs in a leadership position really in some ways also hurt the company, because you do have those doubters coming out and questioning just how much Steve Jobs really has represented innovation for that company? I mean, how strong is the team, the divisional team that he's built up?
I think the divisional team is very strong at Apple, and I think that while Steve Jobs is a unique and iconic technology leader, it doesn't, Ron Johnson's about to become CEO of JCPenney.
Right.
Tim Cook's been the COO for a long time, has done a fantastic job. If you think about who's running the Mac hardware and the iOS software, they have a great team. Steve Jobs just is a special person in and of himself, and difficult, if not impossible, to replace.
So what are the competitors to Apple thinking and doing today? I mean, are they presented with an opportunity, or are they just sort of unclear at this point as to what's next?
Well, I think the opportunity for competitors, if you think about Google and the pending acquisition of Motorola is, and the notion of Amazon perhaps creating a tablet of its own is, can I figure out a way now? Does this create a short-term opportunity to take advantage of Apple? And then can I, Google or Amazon or someone else, figure out the next device more effectively than Apple can? And I think that's a challenge for all companies in the technology space.
A big name change.
All right. Thank you very much for giving us that analysis, Tom Forte.